What is up, guys? Python here, back with another video, and today we're going to be talking about Jaroslav Halak, because should the Rangers re-sign him? There was a recent report from, I think it was just Alan Walsh himself, who was Jaroslav Halak's agent, putting out that the Rangers and Jaroslav Halak have initiated in contract negotiations. And to me, I'm a little 50-50 about this. I know I put out on Twitter that I was down for it, or whatever the phrasing was that I used for it, but the more that I think about it, I'm a little more skeptical about bringing back Jaroslav Halak because of the fact, which, by the way, this is pre-recorded, so knowing my luck, Jaroslav Halak's just going to sign an extension by the time this is going to go up. But regardless, yeah, so I don't know how to feel about this at all because I'm 50-50. Jaroslav Halak was not a horrendous backup last year. He finished the year with a 903 save percentage, 2.72 goals against, but goal save above average at a negative -0.9. Yikes. Yeah, we know Jaroslav Halak was off to a horrendous start. He was like 0-7 in his first, which I know that's more of a team stat. And it's not like all of his bad or all of the times he was in net and all 7 of those losses were his fault. There were times where the team in front of him just played absolutely horrendous. However, and then he went on a run where he only lost 2 more games throughout the entire season, and unless there was some overtime losses here and there, but in regulation only 2 more. But regardless, I'm 50-50 because of the fact that he is 38 years old, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, 38 at this point. So you got to question, is Father Time going to catch up to him this upcoming season? And I understand the argument that if he's going to sign for less than $1 million or $1 million even flat, then sure, go ahead and do it because your options are thin beyond that juncture, because I doubt any of the free agents available, which we'll go into a few of them, are going to take that type of pay cut. And then your other option is in-house, where you have Louis Domingue, which I don't think you want him to come up because realistically, he struggled at the AHL level, and we saw what he did for the Penguins in the playoffs. I'm not the biggest fan of bringing up Louis Domingue. I think he's a fine third option if you need one, but to have him as the full-time backup, you're very thin on goaltending options because, God forbid, you have an injury to Igor Shesterkin or Louis Domingue, then you're already going to Dylan Garand, who I don't believe is NHL ready, and I think you need to give him more reps in Hartford. So I think that if you're going to bring him back for $1 million or less, fine. But if they're going any more, I don't see a reason why you don't attack some of the free agent options. Who are some of the free agent options? We'll jump into that. So the first option you have that is not the sexiest, Jonathan Quick, who is another one where it's Father Time catching up to him. He had an 882 save percentage this year. He did fantastic with the Golden Knights. I do want to see actually his numbers with the Golden Knights specifically. Not fantastic, actually. He did it worse than I thought. He was off to a good start, but a 901 with a 3.13 goals against in 10 games played for the Golden Knights. But that's a guy they could target. Funny enough, beat them in the Stanley Cup in 2014. Would be awkward, but I don't like that name either. In terms of other options, you have Cam Talbot's a name that's been thrown around to have a reunion there. Another one where it's Father Time catching up to him. And not only that, he's been injury prone recently. And I just don't see Cam Talbot signing for that cheap either way. I feel like he's still going to get a decent amount of money. Then you have your Alex Nedeljkovic, who's 27 years old, which would be a fine backup option. But the question is, what is he? Is he just, did he put up bad numbers because the Red Wings in front of him were not a good enough team? Or is he just simply not a good enough goaltender? Because it is a little weird that he goes from a heavy defensive system in Carolina, or a team that at least plays sound defensively in Carolina, puts up all-star caliber numbers, and then ever since he got to Detroit, he's been even below a backup level, like an 830 or 893 save percentage, 3.20 goals against. Definitely skepticism there. You have Laurent Brossoit potentially available, but I think he's going to get a good amount of money. And then Ronta potentially you could have a reunion with. Another guy I think that's going to get more money. Martin Jones, another guy who's probably going to get more money. Your options are very thin. Thomas Greiss, another former Islander like Jarl Halak, where again, Father Time's probably catching up to him. David Riddick, I do not like as an option at all, and I think that is one of the worst options of them all, but a 901 with a 2.68 goals against isn't the worst. It's pretty similar to Jarl Halak's numbers. Plus, he was a starter in Calgary. Plus, he is 30 years old if they did want to go a younger route. And I think he would sign for that type of money, and it wouldn't cost much. But outside of that, you're very thin on options. So I understand why the Rangers really want to go back with Jaroslav Halak and go that route again. But to me, I'm a little, like I said, I'm just skeptical and worry that his age is going to catch up to him. And again, he was serviceable, but it's only in a matter of time, right? And you just got to question, how is he going to perform this next season? But to be fair, it is risky no matter which backup they sign, because you're probably going to either sign a backup with a lot of mileage on him, or you're going to get an Alex Nedeljkovic where it's like, is he even good enough to be in the NHL type question? So it's a tough call to make. I am glad I do not have to make said call, but I'd imagine that Jaroslav Halak is going to be back. And that's just my prediction of what's actually going to happen. I think that for him to only spend a year here and then have to move elsewhere when he probably had his family settled here and everything, I think it would just be a pain for him to move. And I think that it would just be beneficial for both parties because the Rangers need a backup. Jaroslav Halak gets to stay in New York again, where he's comfortable, where he's been around for a number of years, considering his time with the Islanders and then, of course, last year with the Rangers. So I think it makes sense for both parties to have a reunion here. But again, I just question and am worried personally about the mileage on him and how old he is. Is Father Time going to catch up to him? And is he going to be good enough this upcoming season? We will find out. But if there's one thing we could always count on, Benoit Allaire to make sure Jaroslav Halak is a good enough goaltender. But again, remains to be seen what route they go down here. But again, I'm not going to cry a river on who the backup goaltender is, because realistically, you are hoping that they're only getting 20, 25 starts a year like Jarl Halak did last year. So I'm not going to panic if they go with a route that I don't like. But again, as long as Louis Domingue's not the backup, I'm completely fine. You just need a guy where your goaltending depth is good enough where you don't have to really use Louis Domingue as the backup and then Guerin's your third goalie, because that would be a nightmare scenario. But that is going to be it for me. Thank you guys so much for watching. Let me know what you guys think. Should the Rangers bring back Jaroslav Halak? Jaroslav Halak, could I talk? Let me know what you think in the comments section down below. Would love to hear from you guys. And yeah, definitely an interesting situation with the goaltending. And for all I know, since this is pre-recorded, he'll be re-signed by the time I get this video up. But thank you guys so much for watching. Leave a like if you enjoyed. Subscribe if you're new, especially if you're Ranger fans. Turn on your notifications so you know when I upload or go live next. And I will see you in the next one. Let's go Rangers.